Oh, what's going on, guys? Gamer Dude back once again, bringing you some more informative gaming news. But before you begin, you all know the routine, or at least I hope you do by now. If you aren't new to the channel, please make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe, because it would just be your good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. Now then, as you can tell from the title, some interesting news out of Marvel. So if you were a gamer in the early 2000s, you know all about movie tie-in games. They did it with Captain America, the first Avenger, they did it with Iron Man, they did it with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man games, hell, they even did it with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man games. What I'm saying is, movie tie-in games were revolutionary at the time, and without them, we probably wouldn't have a lot of the superhero games that we have today. So today I'm going to be discussing and talking about a potential MCU tie-in game that is reportedly in development. Now, this game is said to be single player, not live service, not multiplayer in any way. It is said to just bridge a gap between the MCU and what we've missed and what's happening, etc., etc. So yeah, I'm going to talk about what I've found regarding this, what it means for the MCU going forward, and what it means for Marvel games going forward, especially with all these Marvel spin-off games from, you know, Insomniac and EA Games and everything like that. So, according to Cosmic Circus leaker Alex P, an MCU adjacent video game is in the works. There have been adaptations in the past, as I mentioned. Notably, you know, the movie tie-in games like The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, etc., but none within the same universe telling their own standalone stories. They were always tied in to the story that the movie was telling, with a few little alterations. Now, it is unclear who is developing this game, what characters it will follow, or even when it's actually set. Details are rather scarce at the moment. However, what I have come to find out is that it joins a long list of upcoming Marvel games from the likes of Blade, Iron Man, Insomniac's Wolverine, and the new Captain America game. Now, I do have a tweet here from Mr. Alex P himself, who got this information in the first place. He says, studio movies, television shows that tie in and affect the course of the MCU, spotlight MCU adjacent shows with little to no tie into the MCU, animation, free for all, and already we got an MCU adjacent video game in development. Interesting. And he presents that tweet from a retweet from Deadline Hollywood, telling us that Marvel television banner returns and aims to help viewers jump in anywhere. So I don't know how he got that there was a game coming out of that, but still, it is creditable, is what I'm saying. Otherwise, I wouldn't have mentioned his name. You know, I'm not one of those YouTubers, you guys know me, I'm not one of those YouTubers that says, oh, this is happening, listen to me, I'm always right. No, I'm just reporting on what I've heard and what is interesting and relevant. Anyway, DC is also developing video games set within its new cinematic universe, so it would stand to reason that Marvel wants to do the same. James Gunn took the role of what is essentially DC's Kevin Feige a couple of years ago, and his new cinematic universe is finally debuting with Superman next year. So I would really love to see a Superman game, to be honest, because we haven't had a standalone Superman game for over a decade now. In fact, even longer, I think. So, yeah, give me Superman game. We need Superman game. not Suicide Squad style. No, that's just, oh God. I'm not even going to go into detail on Suicide Squad. I'll be here all day. Sorry, guys. Anyway, in 2022, James Gunn confirmed that, like Marvel allegedly is now, the new DCEU will expand into video games that are directly connected to the movies. However, the games will not be adaptations of the movies. They will be their own stories, which is interesting in of itself, because as I mentioned before, prior movie tie-in games that came out were just that. They tied into the movie. They didn't tell their own story. They didn't continue that universe in any way. They just tied into the movie with a few tiny alterations here and there to make the game a little bit more interesting. One that springs to mind, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3, for example. On the PS2 version and Xbox 360 version, they introduced Morbius, whereas on the PS3 version, they introduced, I think it was Kingpin. So it just added a few little alterations here and there in all of these tie-in games to make them a little bit more interesting and a bit more playable, you know, to add a bit more to the game instead of it just being like an hour long. So yeah, once again, we know very little about what's in store. I mean, honestly, I couldn't find much about it other than it was in active development, which is a good sign, you know, that it's in development, but you do have to take things that are in active development with a grain of salt, because there's always potential things can be cancelled mid-development. We've seen this happen. It's happened with Insomniac recently. They were developing a multiplayer Spider-Man game, which was in high development, and it has been cancelled. So just take it with a grain of salt. Now, one of the big worries, which Marvel will also have to address, is that video games take a long time to develop. In the 4 to 6 years before they release, anything can change. As I just mentioned, they could just drop production and cancel it altogether. Now, whether it be the popularity of the cinematic universe itself or just the overarching plan in general, nobody knows exactly what's going to happen like next year or the year after. You know, the new DCU could be a complete failure and James Gunn could decide, you know, I don't want to do these games anymore. The same with Marvel. You know, this upcoming tie-in game, it could just be a pipe dream at the moment. You know, they could be like, all right, well, we're going to do this now, providing on the success of the next phase. If the next phase fails, we're not going to do this anymore. You see what I'm saying there? You just got to take it with a pinch of salt. Now, for example, Marvel could greenlight a Ghost Rider game, for example, instead of making a movie ahead of Midnight Suns, only for the project to be cancelled. It is a risky gambit, especially in today's world. I mean, James Gunn even addressed these concerns last year, arguing that there wouldn't be any issues because DC has planned out far beyond the typical development time. But still, it kind of, it's interesting, but it's also kind of worrying, because if the next phase of these movies fail, then so will these games. And then it's left up to these independent developers to do it themselves. You know, it's all on their shoulders. And I'm not saying they're not good at it. You know, Insomniac, fantastic job with Spider-Man. Rocksteady did a fantastic job with Batman. Until Warner Brothers decided to go all live service and ruined it. But again, I'm not going into detail on that. And of course, Insomniac have the upcoming Wolverine game. There's EA Games making an Iron Man game, which is supposedly an open world one. So that's going to be interesting to see. There's that Blade game coming, which I'm not too sure on the details about that one. So I'm not going to talk about it in detail. But I do know it's supposedly like this big MMO, like RPG style thing. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure about it. I've not read up much on it because it's an Xbox exclusive. So yeah, that's just about all I could find regarding this. I'm deeply sorry that it's a short video, but you know, I'm not going to go on talking about something that I don't know anything about. Again, I'm not one of those guys that says I know everything, I'm right, this is happening. No, I'm just presenting to you what I know and the facts that are available to me. Hence, just the facts with Gamer Dude. So yeah, once again, thank you all for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe, because it would just be a good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. So stay tuned for more content from yours truly. This has been Gamer Dude. Happy gaming, and I will catch you all in the next one, guys.